right, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I have been over here. I feel like we've been over here talking about Wuthering Waves and its 16 plus rating for a very long time. It's an issue that actually erupted about 7 days ago and has caused a lot of controversy, a lot of speculation, a lot of theory crafting, and perhaps most importantly of all, a lot of investigating in the gacha space. As we're all pretty familiar with what's been going on, Cantarella's model got censored. There were a lot of complaints about this one, about a product being sold and no longer, technically being available. And there was a lot of talk, right, about something else when it came to this whole issue, fleur-de-lis getting censored as well. There was even a little bit, a tinge of misinformation regarding the issue, where some posts on Reddit were talking about some ads that were running in Play stores and how there were censored designs of Camellia. You can see that she's a lot more covered up over here. And, we eventually found out that, well, that's just the ads that they play in the Play Store or in certain regions, and this is just an outward-facing ad. The model itself isn't even changed. And the funniest part about all of this, right, we can see that it was actually posted on November 18th, 2024, when Camellia's banner ran. And so this issue has just been evolving over time, taking on different forms. We've been able to correct misinformation when it's come up, and we've also had an issue, right, with the whole CN Hoyoshil debacle, right? That organization, XJJ, which was basically going ahead and creating guides on how to report Kuro Games. Speculative, by the way, but, all evidence is pointing towards one thing. And we can see over here, right, what type of organization XJJ actually is. They have a whole write-up on websites. They've been talked about on the CN News, and they potentially been branded as like an terrorist organization by the government themselves. They've got like covert operations with like Isu and non-Isu factions. It's an absolute relative disaster, right? What's going on over here? It's a complete shit show. And I can say firsthand, ladies and gentlemen, I can say firsthand that we're seeing some of it in global, that we are in fact seeing some of it in global. Let's see how the 2.4 update will affect my community in CCP. For those who claim that I'm toxic, this might be your last update. If I make a big report to the CCP about how horny this game looks like porn, enjoy it while you can. Small censorship will lead to big censorship, which will make your favorite games broke. Can you comment 300 times? And you might be wondering why they said, can you comment 300 times? That's because, well, Hoyo Nightclub over here actually made a prior comment. This is actually the follow-up. It's the most recent one, 12 hours ago. And do notice that this is on a video where we're responding to Saeki, and we're talking about his interpretation of the Wu-Wa story. And so this video isn't even about censorship. This video is about the fucking 2.2 story quest. And they're going ahead and they're kind of bringing out the big guns over here. They're bringing out a couple of the bots. Maybe not bots. This actually sounds like it was written by a human. But more CN Hoyoshills kind of crossing the Pacific Ocean over to the US. Can you comment 300 times? Bit of an odd statement. That was followed up with, I'll begin the report immediately. If I hit this 300 reports button, your favorite character might eventually be censored, or CCP will take down the server. Enjoy it while you can. I'll begin the report immediately. And you can see this is by a different user, Yen Kong T1V, and you can see that there's a bit of a script going on. I don't think my channel is the only one that's been getting hit by all of these comments, and unless this is like some really elaborate ploy by somebody trying to make the Hoyo community look bad, I'm just gonna have to assume with my best guess that this is just an extension of this organization that we've been talking about over here, right? XJJ, with the Mihoyo fans that have, mutated into a broader fan base that are going ahead and they're astroturfing games. They're making all of these comments. They're making and creating all of these threats. But unfortunately, perhaps due to the language barrier, I'm not able to take any of these threats particularly seriously. And so when we understand that there's a bit of like a meta in CN to create guides on how to like astroturf games, on how to like report them, on how to basically like create all this negative press and all this negative PR that we've already addressed before in our prior video, CN Hoyoshil Sabotage Wu-Wa 2.2, it is not particularly surprising to me that we're seeing some minor efforts being started to do the exact same thing over in the US. Is your YouTube channel getting reported? I don't think so. I don't hope so. I haven't personally seen any like lowering in views. I haven't really seen any negative impact or consequences if there are potentially mass reports coming in. I will definitely let you guys know if anything does happen, but I guess if there are actual consequences, maybe you'll never actually see my videos. So we might have to rely on other streamers. We might have to rely on other YouTube channels to get my message out if I do end up becoming a victim of this terrifying movement. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and see if that goes. Maybe this is gonna be the end of me. Check Void Enigma's pinned comment. Lamau, this game is already cooked. The haters won. Wuwa's legally involved, and the first anniversary is ruined. Company's reputation now reduced to mere gooner trash game. Good job on helping those instigators, though. Yeah, that's a bit of a pin of shame. You can see that there are a lot of channels, right, that are facing some of the consequences over here. There are a lot of channels that are getting comments like these. So don't be surprised if, you know, your favorite Wuwa CCs or anybody really covering this entire situation is getting brigaded by, let's just be honest here, a bunch of losers that can't even make threats properly. This is more funny than it is threatening. And maybe that's the intention. Maybe this is all actually a joke. Maybe they're not intending to actually take this very seriously and they're just playing into this whole idea of XJJ. But when it comes to CN, when it comes to Hoyo Shills, when it comes to this whole situation, nothing can really be certain. We've gotten into a lot of the issues. We've talked a lot about all of the weird shit that's been going on. Now, let's get into the actual good news when it comes to this entire situation. Kuro Games won. Unfortunately for these individuals, ladies and gentlemen, Kuro Games won. Just in time for the first anniversary, just in time for Shorekeeper's banner, just in time for basically all of the marketing and all of the prep and all of the things that they needed to do to make, you know, the first revival of Solaris a success, you know, that anniversary thing with all the boxes. The age rating is back to 12. And we've made sure to validate this across regions outside of the US. If I'm going to be entirely honest and upfront with you, the game was never 16 plus in the US. The game is and always has been 12 plus in the US because I guess we're just built different over here in the United States. We kind of like don't care too much about goonery stuff and questionable textures and panties on the characters over on the US side. And so there was no actual need for the censorship. There was no actual need for those updates to maintain a rating. But in regions like India, in regions like C, and in regions basically in the US, ladies and gentlemen, Wuwa is now back at the same level compared to games like Nikkei, compared to games like Brown Dust 2, and of course, the entire suite of Hoyoverse games. Because let's be real, ZZZ, I mean, let me just look it up real fast. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I don't, nothing too crazy comes up on the search results. Okay, that's porn. Yeah, okay. Zhuyan pants. Yeah, no, that's... You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Let me see if I can find, like, an image of it in-game. Let's be honest here, right? If Cantarella is getting censored, if Cantarella got censored, what exactly is this? This is a game called Zenless Zone Zero by Hoyoverse, right? And, this is a character. This was actually the second limited character actually available in the game. This isn't like edited footage, right? This is simply a screenshot of like her attack animations in game taken at specific angles. And so if we're going ahead and we're talking about, right, how absolutely disastrous certain textures are on Cantarella, and then ZZZ is going ahead and just having shit like this in the game, well, I mean, let's be real here. I don't think there's particularly a leg to stand on. I think that if this game's going to be 12 plus, well, it probably makes sense for this game to be 12 plus, even without any of the censorship being actually done. So that's just a little bit of the glue regarding the situation. It's the same picture. Honestly, considering the fact that this was a part of her baseline moveset in the game, this is a part of her basic attack chain in Zenless Zone Zero, I would say this is even worse, right? This is... Let's be real here, right? So that's going to be a bit of a comparison between the two games. And we've even got r/gacha gaming getting a piece of this, talking a little bit about this. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, even if this post is going to be mad downvoted, right? We're already seeing people comment with L. We're already seeing the Hoyo Shills on r/gacha gaming commenting with an L. Some people making some jokes. Actually flew too close to the sun. It is crazy that so they got censored, but why though? I reported them to save you from sacrilege this holy week. Yeah, what a weird drama right before the first anniversary. All it took was censoring ass and camel toe. Yeah, so you can kind of see already some of the early comments forming. Maybe there were people in this subreddit and all of the Hoyo gaming subreddits getting in on the actual brigading too. But let's be real here, guys. Let's not throw stones from glass houses. It would be terrible. It would be awful, guys, if somebody were to send a photo of this, talk about this, you know, and yeah, it would be awful if somebody sent a photo of this, talked about ZZZ, right? And, you know, we all know that ZZZ is coming up with version 2.0. Man, it would be awful if somebody went ahead and started, you know, sending photos of this over to the CCP. Make sure you definitely don't do that. Don't do that, okay? I'm telling you all, don't take pictures and evidence from photos in game and then send it to the appropriate authorities, because we definitely don't want the same thing to happen to ZZZ that happened to Wuthering Waves, right? Because what we're seeing in Wuthering Waves is definitely like, it's so much worse, right? What's on the left over here is so much worse than what we're seeing on the right over here, right? It's definitely so much worse. And it would be awful if all of these comments that we're seeing over here actually backfired. All jokes aside, right? I do think the issue is resolved. I do think the issue is resolved. If you're going ahead and you're seeing comments like this from absolute clown show individuals who have quite literally nothing better to do than take complaints in CN, machine translate them over to English, and then start creating accounts called Hoyo Nightclub, and then even going ahead and forgetting to assign a name and actually using their real name to brigade as well, well, I don't think you guys really need to take these threats very seriously, because let's be real here. I think at this point, right, what leg do we have to stand on in this situation? What leg do we have to stand on in this situation? I think we can all agree as a whole, censorship is pretty bad, and if games like Brown Dust 2, if games like Nikke, if all those games like that are already going ahead and they're operating with a 12 plus rating, then I think it's fine if ZZZ stays as a 12 plus. And I think it was a terrible, terrible, terrible thing that Wuwa was being turned into a 16 plus game. Thankfully, it's down back to 12. But let's be real here. The fact that videos like these are getting so many views, 20K in 5 hours, right? Kuro has to make public statements talking about how they're going to fix Fleur-de-Lis in-game. They have to make public statements about how they're going to fix the unit and how rushed they were to get the rating down to 12 plus right before their anniversary. This has gotten a lot of airtime. It's gotten a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of people talking about it, but it's something that needed to be talked about because, again, we're going to have those astroturfers. We're going to have those people that are going to try to threaten the CCs that are trying to cover the issue. We're going to have people that, you know, are getting misled by organizations like XJJ, and they're coming on over to the US. Speculatively. That's the only thing I can assume when I'm getting weird comments like this. So don't take it too seriously. Treat them as a joke, because these individuals are a joke. Their existence is, at this point, a complete joke. And let's just move on. Let's just get into the celebration. And let's just simply appreciate the fact, right, that Kuro Games is the winner coming out of all of this. And who knows? Maybe all this controversy, maybe all this negative PR is actually going to be a positive for them. Maybe it's going to build up even more hype for the anniversary moving forward, build up more hype for the Shorekeeper banner and all of the new events that are coming in the second half of version 2.2. And maybe we'll see if the theory that any press, any PR is good PR, even bad PR being good PR, is actually true. And if you think that this is only 2 accounts that are going ahead and causing issues on all these different YouTube pages, do keep in mind that this is me simply looking up the word 300 and finding some of the initial couple of comments. There are a lot more than these, and you can check out the comment sections across all of my videos, all of my recent videos, and other CCs as well covering the issue if you want to get, or I mean, they're all just copy and pasting the same thing. But if you want to validate that there are more accounts than just 2, it'll be very easy for you to do that. But this is just what I can see off the rip 12 hours ago on a video, again, unrelated to the issue. And just to add something on top of all of those odd 300 report comments that we've been seeing before, my most recent video on the issue, right? Kuro is fixing Fleur-de-Lis, is also now getting brigaded by all of these. I'm not particularly sure what language this is, but they're all mentioning a gambling website called Weton88. I'm pretty sure that that this is just 1,000,000% spyware. I'm seeing people say that it's Indonesian. Yeah, this is definitely just like some form of like spyware. Maybe it's like CN Hoyoshills pretending to be from Indonesia and then spamming the comment section. But yeah, these comments will likely be deleted in the next couple of hours. Probably before you even see before you even see this video. But do keep in mind that, yeah, a lot of stuff has been happening to my channel. A lot of new comments and new users that I've never seen before are starting to appear. And it's all conveniently happening. It is all conveniently happening right after, ladies and gentlemen, we started covering the issue. So I'm not going to go ahead and put any blame on anybody or any party in particular for all the weird shit that I've been seeing over the past couple of days, but do keep in mind that it's going on. And it didn't happen before we started covering the XJJ issue. So you can draw your own conclusions from this. I've been scrolling for so fucking long, my hand is getting tired, and that's just how many comments have showed up. And you can see over here in the last 38 minutes. So with that, yeah, this is some weird shit, man. Let me know what you all think. Peace.